I'm Vivienne Machi with National Defense Magazine, and I'm here with Jim Smith, the SOCOM Acquisition Executive here at SOFIC. So Jim, you mentioned in your keynote speech just now that this is your 9th SOFIC.
That's right.
So can you talk a little bit about the relationship that SOCOM has with SOFIC, how it benefits you, and maybe a little bit about how it's transitioned and improved over the past 9 years?
Yeah. I think one of the things that we mentioned about SOFIC is that every other year we do it in combination with the International SOF Operational Forces Conference. And as I mentioned, that really brings a lot of energy here every other year in addition to the normal SOFIC. I think the biggest thing that we've done with SOFIC over the years is there's a lot of conferences out there where it's kind of a one-way conversation. The people on the panel, the people that are giving the briefings are just pushing information. We've worked very hard to make this a two-way conversation. So if you walk the SOFIC floor, you will see those venues like the Innovation Forum, like the question and answer periods with the PEOs, like this Slido technology that they use today. But to make this a two-way conversation and really to get the benefit of, you got 12,000 attendees here, you got 400 vendors. How do we make this a push and pull opportunity for everybody involved?
Mm-hmm. And so one initiative that SOCOM has gotten some press for that's happening right now is the Thunder Drone Rapid Prototyping event that started last year. And the Game of Drones next event is happening next month at Nellis. Can you talk a bit about what you anticipate for after a Game of Drones is done for those competitors?
Sure. So I think, as you may know, that partnership that we've done Thunder Drone with is with the Strategic Capabilities Office, a DoD organization. So they've partially, resourced that opportunity, and we had some fixed end state to that effort. Right now, we've got about 7 technologies that we're bringing forward to Nellis that have showed promise all through the 3 phases of the Game of Drones, or through Thunder Drone, and we're pretty optimistic about how those technologies do at Nellis. And there's no that's kind of an end state for that partnership with the Strategic Capabilities Office. So I can't state explicitly what they might do with that technology or what we might do with that technology, depending on how it performs out there at Nellis.
Okay. And then another technology that you mentioned in your speech was the Tactical Assault Light Operator suit.
Absolutely.
And so you mentioned that the prototype is expected for summer 2019. So that's a year later than was originally stated about a year ago. But you did talk about some of the challenges inherent to developing this prototype. So what makes you confident at this point that you've overcome those challenges and can make that timeline?
Yeah, Talos has always been a science technology effort. It's always been a high risk effort. We put it up there in that corner with high risk, high reward. And as I explained, we think the risk is worth the reward in terms of what we can do to improve the survivability of the individual operator. The technology is maturing. We did have to delay it, and it's mainly because we've chosen to maintain the role of system integrator at the government level, and we think that the government can do that extremely well. But as we manage the different technologies that have to interplay for Talos, as one technology had a weight gain, then that would cause another technology to have a greater power, which would cause another technology to have a greater structural capability. And so there's a little bit of a cyclic aspect to this, and that's really what caused this latest schedule slip. So we're confident that we've kind of caught that cycle in terms of we've baselined the amount of weight of the system, we've baselined the power that the system needs, and so yeah, I'm fairly confident that this time next year we'll have an operator and a prototype.
And it seems like in the past, the Talos has kind of been I don't want to say the flagship sort of acquisition for SOCOM, but has kind of been that way in the press at least. And now it seems with today, your announcement of this hyper-enabled operator concept, that has kind of jumped to the top of the priorities list for SOCOM. Is that kind of accurate to say?
Well, I view it more as a continuum. The hyper-enabled operator is on the continuum of where Talos was going. Talos as a construct, the idea of using this Joint Acquisition Task Force and having operators embedded in the process, the Joint Acquisition Task Force is commanded, if you will, by an operator, an 06 Green Beret. It's been commanded in the past by an 06 SEAL, actually 2 SEALs, and then now a Green Beret. That concept of bringing operators very close into the acquisition process has, we've seen great benefits from that. So that'll continue. The technologies that we've looked at in Talos are really what have got us looking into this hyper-enabled operator. So this idea of improving the situational awareness, one of the things that we've learned with Talos is I have greater opportunity to bring greater situational awareness into the operator. And there's other ancillary technologies as part of Talos that has pushed us into this digital realm. For instance, I mentioned the look-down display. I've mentioned the C4 capability that the Talos suit's been looking into. And so all those things are on the continuum to getting after the hyper-enabled operator. Now, whether that as the commander pointed out, the hyper-enabled operator has a much broader set of users that we're targeting. Talos, very niche. A hyper-enabled operator, soft logisticians, soft analysts, soft information support operators, soft operators. The entire continuum of soft personnel. So we pushed those Talos that was originally for a very niche capability, and now we're pushing it out to the entire force in the digital domain.
Gotcha. And then you also were talking about some of the priorities for space acquisition.
Yeah.
You mentioned some CubeSats that I believe was a demonstration that you had for communications.
Right.
Can you elaborate a bit on that and what's
absolutely.
coming next?
Yeah, so there's a great realm of technology. These CubeSat satellites, they're phenomenally, they're about the size of literally. I don't know if anyone knows what a bread box is anymore, but that's about the size of a shoebox, maybe a big shoebox, and and it's not just us doing this. There's a commercial capability for these CubeSat satellites, and therefore there is a launch capability for these CubeSat satellites. So the SOCOM equities in this project are really just the satellite, and I say just the satellite. These are fairly affordable end items, and then we ride on someone else's launch.
Right.
So when I first got here about 9 years ago, I heard about this CubeSat program, and they were going up for maybe 30 days, and then they burn in on orbit. I said that's interesting. You have to have a very niche use that you'd have a satellite where you wanted it and for a 30-day period, and then it burned out. We now have satellites that are up there for 3 years. So we had a constellation of about 8 that were up there for 3 years. Currently we have 2 up right now that are at the beginning of their 3-year cycle. We're going to launch some more this summer. The demonstration for those satellites to date has been really as a sensor, what I call a bent pipe. If there's a sensor out there that we're trying to get the data off of, we can get that data off to the satellite and back down to one of our operations centers. I think there's potential, and what we're looking at now, what we're looking for industry participation on, is I think there's potential to put other payloads onto those same CubeSat platforms that allow us to have to be sensors themselves.
Okay, and then again, so these are SOCOM-owned CubeSats.
They are.
Are you also partnering with the Air Force or other entities to do similar space?
Absolutely. So we've got some really interesting partnerships with these. So the CubeSats are ours. As I mentioned, we've got partnerships with commercial industry, with the Air Force, and quite frankly, with some other countries for launch. We've got some great partnerships with academia, where they're working on other payloads for our satellites. So yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jim.
Thank you, Vivienne.
Thanks.
Good to meet you.
You too.